That one hurt the most.
Greetings and salutations, guys. I'm here with my review of NOVOCAINE. This is a new action comedy thriller from directors Dan Burke and Robert Olson. They made a few smaller films before, one of which I've seen, Significant Other, starring Micah Monroe and Jake Lacy, which I enjoyed. But this is, a bigger movie for them, a bigger studio film for them. And I think the end result is very satisfying. I really like this movie. Stars Jack Quaid as a guy who has this condition, which is based on a real life condition where he cannot feel any pain. So, if he injures himself, he is not aware of it. And that makes life very complicated for him. He has just begun a new romantic relationship with his coworker at the bank he works at, Sherry, played by Amber Midthunder, when there is a bank robbery on Christmas Eve. Bunch of guys dressed as Santa. And when the cops show up, they take Sherry as their hostage. And now Nathan goes off to try to rescue her and suddenly starts to use his, I wouldn't say abilities, because it's just this strange thing where he can't feel pain, but uses that the best he can. One thing about this movie that's interesting is the tone of it, because I think the trailers sell it fully as super heightened, wacky action comedy, and there is certainly an element of that throughout this movie. But when it begins, it's actually a lot more subdued than you might expect, especially based on those trailers. And I really like how the opening scenes really establish what life is like for Nathan and how hard it is, and what his day-to-day life is like, and how he has to protect himself and put up a lot of things in his home and his office to make sure he doesn't injure himself, because he won't realize it, and that could be very bad for him if he hurts himself badly and is not aware of it. So I think they really sell you on him and his world, and then the romance. I really bought into this romance. You've got Jack Quaid and Amber Midthunder here, who are very charming actors, and I think are great together. They have great chemistry. But also there is a sadness to both their characters. They kind of bond a little bit over the trauma they've both gone through in their lives. And I was into it. I don't want to say this is some sort of deep, epic romance. It is ultimately a lighthearted action comedy, but I think that they do a great job of establishing the situation, of letting it be a slow build before things get crazy. And even when violence kind of first breaks out, which is the bank robbery, it's played very real, because some innocent people are hurt, and it's pretty brutal. And it kind of reminded me of some 80s action comedies where that happens, where, the moments where people are sort of killed, whether it be passerby or maybe a supporting character, it's like, ooh, that's kind of intense. I felt that, even if the overall movie is trying for something that's a little more, we're having fun here. And I know it's a tricky tone, but I actually think that, these directors do a very good job of selling you on that. Because guess what? Things are going to escalate, and they're going to get, absolutely out there as far as what happens. And Nathan, going on this quest, getting into physical fights, and it gets brutal and it gets graphic, and it is going to be interesting for people, I think, going to see this movie. What is their level that they can take as far as graphic things on screen? Because eventually some things happen that are very nasty. But I like how it kind of builds and builds and builds, and uses your knowledge of what's going on with Nathan to help you understand, that this is how it can escalate if he found himself in a situation like this. You see in the trailer the scene where one of the bad guys is torturing him, and he has to pretend that he is in horrific pain to kind of sell the situation, and that is one of the darkly funny moments of the movie. And yeah, I just think it really, it all kind of lands what it's going for. This, whimsical, mixed with darkness, mixed with romance. There's a lot here in the blender, but I was into it. On the supporting cast side, you've got Jacob Batalon, who, at this point, he's pretty adept at playing the funny best friend, does so well here. And then I really like the two cops that you have that are on the case on this bank robbery and trying to figure out what is Nathan's role in all of this. They're played by Betty Gabriel and Matt Walsh, and I like their dynamic throughout the film. And that goes for the group of criminals too. Ray Nicholson, who's sort of kind of popping up a lot of places now. I'm wearing a Smile 2 shirt. I didn't even think about that. He's in that movie. I really enjoyed him too as the leader of the bank robbers, and kind of getting to know him more as the film goes on. It's a little longer than it could be, and it feels like a movie that maybe should be a little tighter But I still thought overall this really landed. I really had a good time with this. Just one of those movies that's going for its very sort of strange, unique feel. And I think working, Jack Quaid has been such a likable presence for several years now in TV shows and films, and usually as part of an ensemble. And so it's fun to see him sort of take the lead here, and I think he does a great job with it. And after a couple of movies have had fun subverting the fact that he exudes nice guy energy, this one lets him be a real nice guy, but then of course the idea is that he's going to find himself in these situations that a nice guy like him can never have imagined being in, and he is the sort of perfect person to have those reactions to what's happening all around him. And then Amber Midthunder, so great in Prey in this, action lead role. I also really liked her on Legion, also playing an action role. So on one hand, you could say, oh, she's the damsel in distress here. But like I said, they sell you on that romance between the two of them. And the way she reacts to being kidnapped, gives her stuff to do. And so, yeah, I thought I didn't feel like they wasted her in this movie, even though, yes, I want to see more of her getting to be an action lead. And I still want her to have her own Prey sequel, even though I know there's a Predator movie on the way. But that's a diversion. Let's stick to NOVOCAINE and just say, I really enjoyed this one. I thought this just accomplished everything it was setting out to do. I think I'll be going to check this one out again when it hits theaters on March 14th. So those are my thoughts on NOVOCAINE. If you can like and if you can subscribe, that would be excellent. All right, guys, thanks. Take care.